Okay, so now we're here at the third and final introductory tutorial. So it's the quick start. I know these videos are probably a little longer than I'd like them to be even, but this is the core of where we show how Private Notebook automatically organizes information. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into this last record that we created. We created a record for Donald Trump, and I think I mentioned something about presidential candidates, and you can see that in the other records we have here, we've got some past presidents, actual presidents, and we also have some talk show hosts. So now I feel like I want a category that talks about how Donald Trump is currently a presidential candidate, and then maybe we'll add some other people that are also presidential candidates at this particular point in time. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm at this record for Donald Trump, and I'm going to show you the smartest way to create an associated record. Okay, so in this groups pane right now, we don't see anything associated with this record, nor in the details pane. But I do want to make, I think, a group of presidential candidates sounds like a good idea. And to my recollection, I don't think I have anything in groups right now that speaks to that. I could run a search for it, but I've got presidents, I've got currently working, retired, comedy videos, television networks. No, don't have anything about presidential candidates. I'm going to go back to this Donald Trump record. And here's how, this is the smart way to create a record, to create an association. Now I could have created a new group there, but I'm going to show you the way that this tool likes to work. So right off the top of my head, my first move was presidential candidates. Here's one, Donald Trump, threw in a record. Pretty natural to have that happen. Just came to my mind. All right, guys in the news, boom. Create a new record or create a new group, I'm going to do from right here in this pane because I want to show presidential candidates as a group that's associated with Donald Trump. So I'm just going to automatically make that as my first connection, my first associated record. So I'm going to click new here. You'll see that we've got a new record. I'm going to type in presidential candidates. And I don't even have a group type for this right at the moment. I'm just going to leave it at that, presidential candidates group. Okay, notice that over here in contacts, that was the association. If I hop back to Donald Trump, I see presidential candidates is now an associated group. Okay, so these are now linked. Boom, back and forth, easy peasy. So now that I'm in this presidential candidates group, well, let's add another one. So I think probably the closest counterpart to Donald Trump right now is a guy named Bernie Sanders. He seems to be a hot topic in the news right at this particular time. Create a new contact. I'm going to do that right from there. So while I was in that group, now I'm creating a new contact. Okay, and that's automatically now going to be associated as a presidential candidate. I don't have to do any additional work there. So let's go ahead and click in here, Bernie Sanders. Let's see, do I have records for, yeah, I think I've got a little bit of information here that I already found on Bernie. I've got an address for Bernie, just like I did for Donald Trump. And he's at P.O. Box 905. So if you're a Bernie supporter, you can write him a fan letter. Burlington, Vermont, and there's the zip code 05402. Okay, so I've also added a couple of web addresses I found, a website for Bernie, a Twitter account, YouTube account, and I believe I've got this file here of Bernie and his wife. I'm just going to write Sanders here as the name, and we're going to update that. And so now we've got Bernie is added in there as a presidential candidate. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I noticed something interesting here. I noticed that Stephen Colbert is actually a presidential candidate. I found this record that through Wikipedia that said that he ran in 2008. So interestingly, we have another person that could be added to our newly formed group, our associations with presidential candidates would, you know, arguably be relevant to Stephen Colbert. So I'm going to click Associate with Existing Groups. And if you look on the right-hand pane here, you'll see that we have comedy videos currently working, presidential candidates. Ooh, that's the one. I'm going to click on that with a little check, and I'm going to click Update Contact. And you'll see here now Stephen Colbert is associated with presidential candidates, and if I click on that, you'll see that we have Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, and Stephen Colbert is in that group. Isn't that pretty amazing? All right, very cool, good enough. I also got to thinking a little bit about this group, and I added, in the background here, I added a couple of new candidates, Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz. So I wanted to show you what that looks like. So from this, this group that we've created, presidential candidates, we can also associate in the other direction. So similar to how we did Stephen Colbert, now I'm in this group, and I can add more context to that. I could also add details to this that are related, but let's go ahead and look at our contacts list. So you can see that the items that have the X, those are candidates that are already associated with this group. And we have here Hillary Clinton. I'm going to put a little checkbox there, and I'm going to put a little checkbox there with Ted Cruz. And I'm going to update the groups that we were just at. And we go back, and now we see Hillary Clinton has been added to Bernie and Donald and Stephen Colbert, as well as Ted Cruz. And now I'm thinking, I'm kind of questioning the Stephen Colbert, and I'm kind of questioning whether or not Stephen really belongs in this, because after all, if we look at this record, I mean, my real intention was these are just people in the news, that's why it's top of mind. So this is really about 2016 presidential candidates. These are people running now. I'm going to update this group, and I'm going to retitle it 2016 presidential candidates, because that makes a little bit more sense to me. And now that I'm looking at Stephen Colbert, who ran in 2008, he's really not part of this group. He's really not part of this pack right now. So here's how I'm going to eliminate him. This isn't going to delete the record. It's only going to delete the association. See, when I roll over and I see that little red minus sign, I'm going to click on that. It's going to say delete this contact. I'm not really deleting the contact. I'm just deleting the association with the contact. And now this makes a little bit more sense. Now we've got 4 candidates. We've got 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and all 4 of them are 2016 presidential candidates. And just for kicks, let's go back over to the contacts listing here. Remember, we're looking for Stephen Colbert. And if I click on him, he's no longer associated, but his record is still there. So you can add and remove associations with no fear of actually touching the record. Okay, so that's just part of the lesson here. And that's really it. From here, you can go ahead and you can experiment and explore and tie in records very organically. You can do it on the fly, which is really the smartest way to do it. If you're thinking about, if you're on a particular record, you can just add another record that's attached to that. Or if you know that that group already exists, check out the associated groups and see if there's a good place to associate that record with. But what's really cool here is this can happen organically on the fly. You can toss in individual records. They don't have to be associated with anything. You can just think of something off the top of your head, dump it in there, and go ahead and put that into a group or an association with other records later on when it's important to you. So that's it. Go have fun and check out some of our case study videos that I'll release periodically here that'll kind of demonstrate different ways of using the system that will help articulate, maybe a little bit more clearly how this tool might be of use to you. Thank you so much.